Welcome to the Smoking Word.
What's up, everybody? Your boy is back. The Smoking Word podcast brought to you by CasaDeRock.com, now and forever. But you know the deal. That's my merch store. If you want to support the show, go there. We got a lot of stuff. We got a lot of dope gear, a lot of New York hardcore stuff. We got some shorts, and every t-shirt is $21 for the whole year. We're celebrating 2021 the right way. And also, again, I want everybody, if you want the show, if you like what you hear and you want the Smoking Word to keep going and keep building, we need you to invest in the show. Again, I don't need nothing for nothing. You get something for something. Join our Patreon / the Smoking Word. We got 4 tiers of stuff. So basically, really quick, this is how it works. You pay a tier, and like, let's say, for instance, the $2 tier, we have a $2 tier. On that $2 tier, you're going to be able to get exclusive videos and a couple of other things. And the higher the tier, the more access to exclusive stuff you're going to be getting. So, and I'm going to get busy with it. We're going to be taking things backstage. We're going to be doing, rehearsals. I'm going to get really crazy and we're going to have fun with it. But this is only for the Patreon people. And I'm always going to put the audio for free on YouTube and everything. But if you want to see the video, you're going to have to join the Patreon because, it's cracking like that on Smoking Word TV. So we want everybody to jump, get down with the get down and catch that wave, everybody. We're going to have fun with it. So make sure you do that. Patreon / the Smoking Word. Pick a tier and make sure to follow me. Hoya Rock 357 on Instagram. I'm up to speed as much as I could be up to speed. So everything Madball, Casa the Rock, and Smoking Word. You can catch me there. And again, add the Smoking Word podcast on Instagram. Add us. We check the mail all the time. If you want to shout us out, any questions you want on future shows, hit us up. Any questions about anything, hit us up. And all you new bands, if you got no record labels, I don't want nobody with record labels right now because too much trouble. But if you're a new band out there and you want to send your music to us, we want, again, bands that aren't signed, send us a track. Send us your best track to the Smoking Word podcast Instagram, and you might just get your shit reviewed on here. But shout out to all the new bands, keeping it real, everybody representing. And I want to shout out a big salute to everybody who's going to come out to that Rhode Island show because we put the tickets up for sale, and a couple of minutes later they were sold out. Of course, we know we're not the Misfits and we ain't playing the fucking Prudential or whatever. But yo, it feels good to know that hardcore's back and ready to rock, everybody. So keep your ears open. There's a lot of things in the works and we ready to set it off, everybody. So again, look out for us. Shout out to everybody coming out to the Rhode Island show. We're going to get busy. We're going to have fun. And I can't wait to see everybody out there. So, and everybody, this guest this week, an old friend, a fucking classic, not just in New York, but like he's a staple in this hardcore shit of ours. And he's also made a lot of noise in that metal world. Yo, the Vox behind Sepultura. My boy, Derrick Green. Let's set this shit off.
The Smoking Word.
Yeah. I see you, but do you hear me? And do I hear you?
Yes.
Yeah. touch motherfucking down.
It's on.
How you doing, hermano?
I'm fucking fantastic.
Good.
Bueno.
Good. No, I'm glad I got you on. I've been wanting you for a second, and I've been seeing you out there, California living.
Oh yeah, it's a whole new life out here, man.
That's what I wanted to ask you. I was like, I know you were out there. I started seeing you, with Toby. We'll talk a little bit about that. But I was like, when did you fucking end up in Cali? I never put it together.
Right. It was kind of something that I've been wanting to do, was to move back to the U.S. So I've been living in Sao Paulo, Brazil for over 20 years, which is a minute. You know, the last time I lived in the US was in New York.
I know that's why I met you. That's what I'm saying. That's why I like not to literally I'm setting up and I'm like, he Cali, and I'm like, wait a minute, when did he get to Cali? I just literally put it together, and then so you out there that long, 20 fucking something years. How long? 20 what years?
Yeah, it was that long. 21 years.
Insane, dude.
It's insane. I never imagined to live in Brazil. I never imagined to live in South America. You know, I imagine living outside the US, but not for so long, you know.
Yeah, and that's good. And before this, you had nothing to do with anything Portuguese, anything like nothing. No fantasy, you know, a lot of I love, you know, we all love it there. But you know, exactly. Some people have the fantasy, you know, they pick like you got some of these American guys, they got the Thai fantasy, the Japanese fantasy. So you had zero connection to Brazil.
Nothing.
Before this, really.
Nada. I had no idea if I heard Portuguese, if it was being spoken. I mean, there was no internet when I joined the band. It was that long ago. So I had to go to the library to check out books about Brazil.
Hey, kids, there's a thing called a library. It was a big building, and there was a thing called books in the library. How crazy is that? You went to a fucking library.
I went to a library. In the East Village, I was like, yo, I need to look up some, you know, what's happening in South America, what's happening in Brazil. Because I had no clue. I didn't know anyone there. I didn't know anybody from there, except there was one guy I know that you might know. His name was Supla.
Supla, of course. Yeah. We know Supla is the kid, you know, that's I know Supla. The same way how I knew you, where we started interacting more was when those days in the LES. Right, you were bartending or working wherever, and Supla was the same, and it was that whole mix-up. Yeah, crazy.
And it's crazy because I never put the two together. I didn't know he was Brazilian at first. Yeah, you know, until I started talking to him, and he was like, "Yo, I heard that you know you tried out for Sepultura." He's like, "That's my home," you know, like Sao Paulo. I was like, "That's crazy." Yeah, but I mean, I went out there, did an audition. And then I came back to New York. And then a month later, they were just like, hey, you want to come try, you know, you really want to come and do this? Yeah. You know, so it was crazy, man. I mean, once I decided that, yes, I definitely want to do this. Then I was gone. I moved. And then I just started doing, you know, tours as far as like promotional tours. Like back in the day, they'd have you go everywhere.
Yeah, I remember those days.
You remember that, right?
Oh, hell yeah. Roadrunner flew me and Freddie. They flew me and Freddie when we did our second album. They flew us to Europe to do press.
Yes, that was the thing. Like, I was like, what? I was like, we're not going to play in these shows? And they're like, no, it's just press.
Yo, me and Freddie, you know, and we were young, wild, and poor. And we were like, wait a minute.
Oh, they put you up in nice hotels. Yeah,
and look at Roadrunner, yo, shout out to Roadrunner because you know, they would have the girl or the guy, whoever was like helping us out. Because we did like Germany, the UK, Holland, like they flew us out there for press, just for interviews, everybody. You know, fat hotels, and they were like, what do you need? We have the credit card, whatever you want. And me and Freddie looked at each other, yo, forget it. Everything, steaks, ice cream. You know, we were in Holland. Yo, go to the coffee shop. I want everything, you know, like
Holland, Holland was like the spot that when we got there, I was like, I want to live here.
I want to live here. I think everybody does.
And I did. I did for 2 years.
You did. You see, I ended up living there too. You know, I got married out there. Right. Rest in peace. But I fell in love with Holland. That's made for people like us too. Also.
Oh, absolutely. Great vibe. It was my first time there, and I just fell in love with it. And I met good people. I don't know if you know Marlena. She used to work at Roadrunner.
Yeah, of course.
And she worked. And she ended up going to Epitaph.
Yes.
And so when I moved there, she just started working at Epitaph, and I lived with her for like 2 years.
Oh shit! I didn't know that. That's cool. Yeah. That shit. And the shit. So all right, when you go, so you get the word to try. All right, just getting the word to try out for Sepultura.
Right.
Like that's what I always wondered. Like we'll go into your history. I know already. You know where you're from, and a lot of people. You know,
Right.
We all been through the ringer on these podcasts, including myself. So we kind of touch on that, but I'm more like how you got the word about, all right, yo, Sepultura is trying on, and you say, yo, fuck it, let me try this.
Okay.
Shit. Like, how did you get that word?
All right. So I definitely wanted to, I was already doing music and it was really complicated. It was difficult to start a band and do everything, of course. And so I was always in contact with Mike Gitter.
Yeah.
He was an A&R person that just started at Roadrunner. And I knew him from before he started working there. And he had seen my previous bands that I was in, and they were nothing like Sepultura. But he was thinking, hey, Sepultura needs somebody that's completely different, that's not going to try to imitate the old guy, because, the other guy. Of
course, yeah. Why do that? Yeah.
Right. It's just not going to work. It's just ridiculous. So he called me up and he was like, hey, and he was always going to shows, in the village all the time.
I know Gitter from, all the old days. And he actually, when Howie left Roadrunner, he was our A&R the last.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Right. So he was the one that was like, hey, I think you should try out for him. This is a crazy story. And I was like, all right. I was like, really? The singer left? I was like, yeah, but I don't know those guys. I've always played in bands where I know
friends.
people.
I know, it's weird.
Right.
It's weird, yeah.
And he was like, no, I think it could be cool. And he's like, who tried out? He was like, Davide. And I was like, Davide from Orange 9mm? And he was like, yeah, Davide tried out. And I was like,
that's weird.
I was like, that's crazy. And I was like, I never heard anything about it. He's like, yeah, but he didn't want to do it in the end.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's weird.
Yeah.
So Davide tried out before I did.
Yeah.
And Davide he played in Orange 9mm, and he flew to San Diego where those guys were living at the time, because they had been living in the US for over 8 years.
Yeah.
And so he flew to San Diego to Igor's place, Igor the drummer, and they were all practicing there. And he was a big Sepultura fan. He knew all the songs. He knew how to play them because he played bass and guitar, and he knew all the words. So he was like, yo, let's do some old songs. And they went through everything, and they were just like, yo, this guy is really talented and great. And they're like, what's up? You want to? And he was like, he was kind of freaked out by the whole experience. He was like, this is a big deal. I don't think I can do it. And I really want to do a studio. I want to be a producer. Yeah, and he was like, I don't want to go on the road. And he's like, it's going to be a lot. So he helped me make my demo to send to those guys, like a tape. I had a tape.
Yeah, tape. What's that?
I had my tape.
Yeah. Your TDK fucking gold tip, right?
Oh yeah. I was like, this got to be a classic.
Yeah. let me take the tape off. So let me break the tabs off so nobody can record on this bad boy. Remember breaking those tabs?
I totally remember
it's a wrap. It's a wrap.
Yeah, it's like
stick a knife in it. It's done.
I know most people are like, what are they talking about?
It's like, exactly. Look up tapes, kids. But yeah, that's great. That's what's great.
Right.
Go ahead. No. Go ahead.
So that's pretty much like I sent that tape, and then I heard that Jorge tried out.
Yeah.
And they were like, yo. When I went down to Brazil, they're like, yo, this guy Jorge? And I was like, yeah, he's from Marauder. Yeah. He's like, he kept speaking Spanish to us.
Yeah. He's Puerto Rican. You got to let some shit slide. They don't know.
Right.
Shout out to my Puerto Rican. But yeah. And I know the whole debacle. There was a whole, with him also in there. Like,
right.
But
the
idea was right.
The fact, like his power.
Great voice.
Like, yo.
He's a great voice, but we know that to be in a band and be successful, it's the full package. It's not just one thing. You got to be able to do the job, look the part, play the part, hang with everything.
Right.
You got to be able to blend, to mesh, to you know how it is. You got to adapt. And some people ain't made like that. Like some of the people you named that just, like you invited me and I go to your rehearsal and then I'm threatening all your friends that I'm going to fuck up all your friends. It's like, I don't want you in my band either. You know what I mean? Like,
probably not a good idea.
That's just what. Maybe I might be wrong on that one, but but I hear you. And like, what this is the shit because your old band Outface, right? So I was like, I always heard of it and I always knew about it, but I didn't like sit down and hear it.
When my God.
When I did but when I did hear it, with the later stuff, I remember the demo.
Oh, right.
The later stuff. What I liked was, I know, because that's where music was at that time. If you were splintering off, it was that kind of, it had crossover with a little bit more funky.
Yeah.
Like it was that, I don't want to say it was 247 Spies because that was another thing, but funk, where you could tell they had metal, it had hardcore, it had a groove, an attitude. And then I was like, that to Sepultura. I was like, what made even you say, I think I could come off with my voice and join that? Like, did you hear that? I could make this pop with my style.
At first, I knew that it was going to take some time. I was like, all I need to know is if these guys really want me to be in the band as far as a writer, a full member, not like a hired gun. Yeah. So I was really curious about that. And so once I had some time to spend with them, a couple of weeks, I hung out with all their family. They were trying to check me out to see, family members would be like, yo, that guy is crazy, or he's cool. And I loved it. I love Brazil. I fell in love with everything there. And I knew, I was like, man, I want to come back here. And we did like a Bad Brains cover, and that like really cemented everything to me, because it really got me to loosen up and to really think like, man, I think I can do this. It's going to take some time to get used to each other playing. They had a common, a core group that they played for so many years. And brother, a brother leaving the band, and it was big, but I didn't realize how big it was, which helped.
Which is good. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and like obviously, Sepultura was a big thing, but I also know you weren't a metal guy coming up. So they weren't on your radar before, besides maybe knowing them, right? You weren't really into Sepultura head.
I would never know if I saw him walking down the street. I'd be like, who's that? Like, who's who? And I mean, I loved the album Arise. That was the first thing that got me, and was my friend from New York was like, yo, check out this tape. Yeah. And I was like, he's like, these guys are on another level from Brazil. They're, and I was like, cool. And then I heard KICD, and I was like, holy shit, this is insane. And then I heard Roots, and I was like, this is, a whole nother level. Yeah. And so then, but I still wasn't fanatical fan, know, but I really appreciate the fact that they were giving me the opportunity to be a part of something. They wanted to start fresh, new songs, new this and new everything. And I was like, yo, I really want to get with this. And I really want to take the time. And I know that we're going to have to tour, and fans are going to have to get used to the change, but we'll grow. And I just want to evolve with the band. You know?
And when you jam with them, all right, they jam, they're picking, there's a couple dudes jamming, they call you up, and what they say, Derrick, you in? What do they say? Oh, they go, Derrick. They go, Derrick, you in.
Derrick. They call me Derrick. In Brazil, Derrick.
And how was, so they say you in, and how was that? Because,
I mean, it was crazy.
In our world, exactly like we just said, in our world, we start bands with our friends. So it ain't nobody calling us up saying you're in.
Right.
Or it's like, yo, jam with us. All right, dope. It's not like.
It was pretty much like that. Like, yo, you want to come back to Brazil and jam and
see thongs and eat drink acai and no, I want to stay in Cleveland. I want to stay in Cleveland with the weather.
I was like, nah. I was like, I gotta do this. It's like a once in a lifetime opportunity. And it was crazy because the first show, they were like, the manager called me back and it was like, yo, so you come down here, start rehearsing, finish, the album. They already started writing, finish the album. And then there's like a lot of press, everything, Brazilian press. I didn't understand anything that was going on.
Okay. So early on they had a translator for you, or did the band have to translate for you? That must
have been like a nightmare because they're horrible at translate. They never like to do it.
They just learned English like last week. I know. Look, I love Sepultura, but they've had the accents. Like, not till recently, I hear them talking English. I'm like, get up, ball, motherfucker.
Oh man, it was difficult. And the thing is, they planned this huge festival where Sepultura would be the headliner. They had every top Brazilian band playing. They invited Jason Newsted. They invited Mike Patton. They had, the Shavante Indians from the rainforest come to perform with us live. Yeah. It was a crazy, crazy lineup and all the press. So it was like a build up to the show. And I was in Brazil just like, yo, this is insane. And I didn't realize that everyone on the street knew them. You know, you'd be watching old people, young people like, yo, Sepultura, you know, like it was like, it's a national pride, the band. And I had no idea. And I was just like, yo, this is insane. Like everybody knows you guys. They're like, yeah, you know, it's crazy to even move back here because they became famous when they left Brazil. Yeah. They were never. It's a weird thing because people think, oh, they were always famous in Brazil, but it was never that case. It was like once they started touring outside of Brazil and becoming famous outside of Brazil, then more Brazilians were like,
started rooting for
this. This is our band.
This is our guys. Yeah, no, for sure. Because I seen Sepultura early on at L'Amour's.
Wow.
You know, I caught them at that show. And it was insane. And my brother actually, we really went to hang outside because we would go, you know, I liked Sepultura, but I never had seen them. And we were like, yo, they're like Metallica, but they're harder. And they're Spanish dudes. You know, they're South American. We were like, we're in, you know, so we were rooting for them. But we were like, we were hanging out. We went to more hang out at the show. And then we were like, me and my brother were there. And we talk about it to this day. And then we were like, fuck it, let's go check them out. We're like, hell yeah, let's go check them out. And we ended up going in and they killed it. And I remember they knew zero English. Zero English. And he was like, this goes out to the Latinos. And we were like, yeah. Motherfucker. Like, enough. Yeah, we came and did what we wanted. But then small story short, you know, we were on Roadrunner.
Right.
And then we would always hear, back then, now it's cool. Everybody likes hardcore. But back then, when you heard that a big dog was into hardcore, it was like, get out of here. Really? It's like you saw Bigfoot. You know what I mean?
Right.
And we used to hear, yo, those guys love hardcore. They love Sick of It All. And we're like, get out of here. So we're playing Dynamo 95, and it's a Nail Bomb. Nail Bomb was playing, but all of those guys were there. And it's our first festival, you know, and I'm walking backstage and I'm by myself and I'm just like, oh shit, look at this guy from that band. In my head, you know, I'm trying to like, I'm too hard to give people props, you know. I'm walking with my hard shit, but I'm like, oh shit, that's Sepultura. And I'm like, oh shit, that's these dudes. And I see them looking at me. And we're kind of looking, but nobody says nothing. And then later on, Howie was like, yo, those guys want, they want to say what's up. They love you guys. And I was like, yeah, I love them too. And it was like, nobody wanted to say nothing. And then we ended up meeting and, throughout the years, we started connecting. And I was like, but this is the thing about Sepultura that it didn't surprise me getting a guy or that they look for specifically your type of guy, a guy from our world.
Right.
Early on, that was the thing. They always gave, extreme underground punk and hardcore, if it was Discharge, GBH, or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. And I didn't know that until actually hanging out with them. I was hanging out with Igor, and he was, way into hardcore, and all those guys, they love punk and hardcore. And I was like, it was such a relief. They loved all different types of music. They're very eclectic in their music taste.
Yeah, for sure. They're great players. You know what I mean? You could tell, like, even then, even back then, there was always, Metallica showed love early on. Of course, Slayer showed up. But, when Sepultura came out, like, I felt it, like, because they were literally like Igor and Max. Those guys would be like, no, I like this band, and they would say the names and say them, and then it'd be like, oh shit, they know what's up. Like they're not just, it's easy to say Bad Brains, Black Flag. Yeah, okay, that's the 101 in the dictionary. Their names are on there. Like you start naming the Sick of It Alls, the a Gorilla Biscuit, or so you're like, oh, they know the real shit. Like, okay, they proper.
They're legit, right?
And for me, Brazil became, for Madball, the same thing. Brazil's a second home. Forget it. And that was because we were like,
and you guys, whenever you keep going back too, which is what a lot of bands miss out on. It's like when you go, you're going to get more love the more times you go back.
And we got to chill that once. I don't know how long ago was it.
That was crazy.
So again, for everybody out there, we were in Brazil. We hooked up with, I don't know what we were doing, but we ended up in a club, and I don't remember. We just drank and hung out, but it was
that was insane.
Yeah, I know. I just remember, like, what the fuck? We should be on the Lower East Side. Derrick's going to work. We're showing up, or somebody was passing. No, but now we're in Brazil in a bar, like some club,
wilding out,
and fucking. Now let me ask you this: So obviously, even with the other band and even with the history of, Ohio got a lot of history in hardcore, and it's funny, like I always knew about the classic bands, but the more and more when I got older and I started looking at the map, I understood more because the demographics of where Ohio falls.
Exactly.
Like, you forget it's still like close to like the upstate New Yorks and, kind of like these other places.
I mean, we would always see shows in Buffalo.
That's what I mean.
I ended up meeting like 100 people that, I'm still friends with from Buffalo, like that played in hardcore bands then, and it's insane, that connection, but we would drive to shows. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. When I would hear there was always a couple classic, from Ohio, these OG bands, and then you're like, oh shit. And we always had a good, Madball, throughout the years, Ohio, if it was a Cleveland or wherever, there was Toledo's, there was always hardcore and punk there. Right. And then I started looking at on the map and I was like, oh, I get it.
Yeah, now it's a crossway, like every band has to cross that way.
And you coming up, what city did you come up? Were you Cleveland proper or you were like outside?
I grew up I was born in Cleveland and my parents moved to the suburbs of Cleveland, an area called Shaker Heights. And I think they even made a TV show off of it with Reese Witherspoon.
Get out of Shaker Heights.
And it's Little Fires Everywhere. It's based off of a book, but it's like a really bizarre suburb where they were really trying to do something original many years ago to integrate people who are like Black or white or Asian of upper economic class, and create this area where you were like, integrate, all these different people. And it worked, it was something very new that happened. It started in the 40s and the 50s.
Wow, that far back.
Yeah.
That's pretty gangster. That's gangster. Because back then, wow.
And so there were people like Paul Newman that went to my high school. Some people from SNL, a lot of different writers and different people. So I was really fortunate. My mother was a teacher. So when I have an older sister who's 10 years older than I am. And so when we were living in the actual city, things started to change in Black neighborhoods. They became a lot harder, before everyone knew the neighbor, everybody be out on the street. It was chill.
Every neighborhood was the same. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Block parties, just like really, really chill. But things started, people started losing jobs, and so at the public schools there were people like 40 ounces drinking, smoking weed outside the school. My mom was like, yeah, my sister, she was like, my daughter can't go here. She's too smart for this, and she ended up going to private school. And my parents, worked their ass off. Then my brother came up and he's 5 years older than I am. And they're like, yo, he's going to go to private school too. And so my mom figured out that if we moved to this area, Shaker, then I could go to the schools there and you pay a lot more in taxes. And the schools there were like another world. Like the public school had like a, observatorium there, like a planetarium.
And no bars on the windows. Like
no bars on the window. And there's like Olympic sized pool.
Exactly.
And people were chilling. And they were like, yo, this public school is one of the top in the country. And they were like, yo, you can either go to this private school or public. And I was like, public, because all my friends are going to be going there.
Of course.
And so then I was really fortunate, man. It changed a lot, but it was still, that feeling of like getting into hardcore and punk. It was like an outsider. Like people like, what the fuck?
That's exactly what I wanted to ask you. That's exactly what I was to talk, because one, no matter, look at the average person getting into hardcore punk, no matter what, you're an outsider or whatever. But for guys like me and you, we got a superpower.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not part of the original DNA, or whatever you want to call it, the color profile of the original DNA of this type of music.
Right. So, but what's interesting about it is the fact that what they were singing about was that, social, connectedness, trying to connect. And that really resonated, with me.
Absolutely.
I was like, wow, right.
And you know why? And this is why I say this is how I almost know from you just being a hardcore dude and being a Black dude and being into because it's the same situation I was in. I was like this to last in this world, and meaning in our world,
right?
you either you know you love it so much that you bob and weave and you learn to you know I'm me. You could be you, but I'm me. Or
Right.
you fall off and you don't want no part of it because you can't handle it.
Right.
And guys like us, we last so long and that's why we have thicker skins. Because we got to learn our environment isn't, people don't understand it. Everybody, there's freedom and everybody gets along and all that. But for guys like us, okay, my high school upbringing was all black and Spanish. Okay. I was a hardcore skinhead. This is when exactly on news, all you saw was white power skinhead,
right?
And Geraldo Rivera. I was the only skin in my school, but I was a hardcore skin. And obviously, we used to fuck the white power dudes up. But my whole school used to be like, but I used to get busy. You know what I mean? People knew I was wild, but I was cool.
Right.
They used to go, Hoya, how you get down with that white boy shit? They racist.
Yes.
And I used to be like, in my head, two things. The average dude would either end up becoming just straight hip hop kid because they don't want to get picked on. But I was kind of like, man, you motherfuckers just don't know what time it is. Like, I felt like I know I got a special superpower, this hidden world that you don't deserve to know what time it is.
I felt the same way,
And that's what I was gonna say. How was your experience in your school?
It was interesting because you said, you learn to adapt, and so I was like, you know what? It's gonna be chill if I can get along with these people. It's like I'm not into the shit that they're into, but all my boys went to other schools. There was a small faction from different schools, and we go to shows.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the same world that anybody in my school were a part of, except for a handful. And so there were black kids who were like, yo, why you listen to this white music? And they're like, why don't you comb your hair? I started growing dreads. They're like, you need to comb your hair and stop the,
you better cut it out.
Yeah. And I was like, damn, I was getting harassed. Like, yo, you need to comb your hair. Like, what the fuck is up with that? And so it was crazy. And then they're like, white kids are like, oh, that's cool. You're doing dreadlocks?
Yeah, exactly. They're like, so am I. Like the girl's like, so am I. Like, you got beeswax. Where's your beeswax?
Oh my God. So, I mean, it was crazy, but at the same time, that was the escape. I was like, once school was over, I was like, now I'm going to hang out with my friends for real and be like skating, going to shows, seeing kids from other areas, who were outcasts from their schools.
Yeah.
But everybody just thought we were freaks,
exactly.
Like in general, they're like, yo, you're skateboarding? They're like, what? Making fun of that, getting into fights, like going to try to go to parties and just like, yo, you fucking freaks, like colored hair and fights. All the time.
No exaggeration. My freshman year of high school, right? I showed up to my orientation. I had a board. I was already hardcore. I showed up with a board, right? 6 months later, I showed up with a Mac 10 machine gun. And I'm not even joking, but this is how I thank God every day of my life. I that I'm here. And believe me, I believe in karma. I believe in everything. I don't say why and this and that, but I know I've lived a crazy life. But also I think about like that, I was so hard-headed that I stuck with it because one, I love the music.
Yeah,
and if you were your boys.
Yeah.
The boys are with you. We're together. I don't care what color you are.
Right.
And in our neighborhoods, people don't know that because it stays, the black kids are the black, Spanish kids, the white kids are white kids, or even if the white kids are hanging out there, or if they're wiggers, they're hanging out with the black and Spanish. If they're metal guy, it's like everybody has their little place. Me and my school, every day was skinhead, white power, and yo, and people, they know what's up, but they were like, how could you be down with that white boy shit? Just like that, those words.
Yeah.
And I used to be like, you don't know what time it is. You just don't know what time it is. And I used to be like, if you knew, I go, you read about Nazis. Right. We fucked them up every weekend. I used to be like, I felt like, we're doing our own history.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what I loved about hardcore, that it felt like kids were able to do grown-up shit before we were officially grown up.
Absolutely.
Set up a show, set up a rehearsal.
Oh, yeah. It was like serious shit that was happening. I mean, that whole white power thing was happening in many scenes, and especially going to shows in Pittsburgh,
absolutely,
Pennsylvania. I was like, yo,
hammer skins.
how the hell do you let this shit happen to your scene? Because we were fighting kids, any of those kids come in, they get beat down instantly. You're like, yo, you're not going to be fucking this scene up, But it was weird because I go to see shows in Detroit. That shit was ill.
Yeah,
At Blondie's.
Blondie's, oh, that's insane. Oh, hell yeah.
And I remember seeing Agnostic Front at Blondie's. And Freddie came up and sang some songs. He was little, man.
And Blondie's always brought like killers.
Yes.
And suspect motherfuckers on that show.
I was like, what the fuck, man? Detroit was another world, but we would go see shows there. And that was outrageous.
And that's what I said. And guys like us, I say like, it's we look it like, like, all right, people talk about like a Roger. Yeah, Roger's Cubano. But yeah, when I saw Roger, you had to tell me he was Cuban. I thought he was a white boy.
Yeah, so did I. Yeah.
Exactly. And then the only really ethnic people, all right, you had the Bad Brains, and they were the Bad Brains.
They were the Bad
Brains. And then, so whatever's, you don't know how psyched I got when I found out Lombardo was Cuban and not Italian. Because I was like, another span, and not on just be obviously I'm proud of being Latino, but like in our movement. Like, wow, like, yo, we contributed also. I love this whole family of heavy music. Absolutely. Like, wow, we got, some of our dudes in there are some of the groundbreakers because they wasn't much.
But you know what's interesting is the fact, I mean, I never knew Roger was Cuban until that show in Detroit. And he was like, yo, I don't know why you're Sikh Island. It's like, he's like, I'm from Cuba.
You got to seek
help. Like went off. Yeah. But then, like when you go all the way back to like Black Flag, the original Seeger, he was Latino. Like Latinos have always,
lingered,
really, like the LA West Coast shit where I'm learning so much about. I'm like, damn, this is really where a lot of the shit started.
Yes.
Like that whole, and it was always like a kind of like mixing, but it's very segregated here. I will tell you that.
Oh yeah, it's very a lot of old school, but a lot of that old school racism also comes from the prison systems, and the gangs.
I started to realize that. I was like, damn, it's a different world out here.
And exactly. And it's crazy, for me, obviously we knew about we would hear suicidal and you were like, oh shit, all right, there's Mexican cats into this. But to me, when I found out how big and how many Latins and West Coast were into punk, like, every other guy was a Latino, Mexican, I bugged out. I was like,
I had no idea.
Yeah, I was like, wow, this is where you're all at. Yeah.
Right.
No wonder they're not here. It's like the U.S. was tilted towards Cali and all the Latins just dripped to California. You know what I mean? But like, that's why I asked, because, we got a hand, there's always been a couple black dudes, a couple Asian guys, a couple Latin dudes, but they were always sprinkled. And nowadays it's more common. We got more flavors in the front, and which is dope. So now people could be like, y'all like this guy, this guy, this guy. Now you can ring off a name of dudes that are,
and they start getting more and more diversity in the musicians.
Yeah,
a lot more. It became a lot more interesting. I felt
Sepultura.
Right.
Period.
Right. I mean, it's so bizarre. I have to say, like, when I moved to Brazil, there was one thing I didn't realize. I thought they spoke Spanish as far as being able to speak Spanish.
Yeah.
And I got there and it's like, it's so separate from the rest of South America as far as that Latino vibe.
Yeah.
And they're like, the cultures don't really mix over in a way. And I was like, wow, it's surrounded by all countries speaking Spanish, but people here are like, I'll speak English.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I'm like, yo, you understand Spanish, motherfucker. And they're like, yeah, we do, but we don't speak it. And I was like, okay. But Andreas, my guitarist, he's ill at speaking Spanish.
Is he? I didn't know that.
Yeah. He does he does all our interviews in every Spanish-speaking country. He does it all in Spanish. And he throws in, he's like called Porteñol.
Yeah.
Porteñol. He just like adds the accent on top of it, and it works. But now I can understand a lot of Spanish. It's a Latin language, Portuguese. And,
your Portuguese is ridiculous. When I hear you now, like, I'm used to you, like, knowing that good. I'm like, crazy. Like,
it's crazy, man.
To know it, like, just not that you were forced, but you picked it up because your surroundings.
To, man.
Yeah, you need.
I mean, I was in my late 20s, so I was like an adult. I was a man, and then people are like, after a while, they're like, "Yo, you're so cute. You sound like a 7-year-old." I was like, "Yo, I'm a man."
Yeah, I know, like I'm a grown man. Yeah, talking like a 7.
And it was I was single. I was living alone. The other guys lived, with their families and stuff, and so I had to, go to the bank, do all the basics day-to-day shit. And I had to learn it. And the best way to learn was making friends who didn't speak English.
Yeah,
because everyone else, they were always speaking English to me, or like, I want to practice my English. And I was like, okay, I need to practice my Portuguese.
Now, let me ask you this. So you're vegan now, right? You're vegan,
right?
Vegetarian. Were you? Oh, I know. I don't know always, but were you always vegan? I was gonna say you're Ohio and you're somewhere down the line.
Right.
You gotta eat some good
Even
food.
that was like, you're crazy.
That's
like,
what I was gonna say.
I started early, man. I stopped eating meat at 15 years old.
Meat. So you were vegetarian, or you went vegan right away?
I was vegetarian at 15, and I was just like, this is bullshit. I want to try and see if it will make a difference that I feel, you know. And I already knew like of bands like Youth of Today, Cro-Mags. I saw, I was reading like one of the first shows I saw. I was like, I bought like the books that they were selling, and I was just, talking about like not eating meat, and I was like, I want to try this and see if it makes a difference. And it really started to have an effect on me. I started reading more about it and just the industry and how it affects your body. And then I started learning more about how it affects, the animals, the process, and how it affects the earth, and how, all these companies are really hide a lot of the shit that they're doing. And I was like, damn, this is insane. It goes much bigger than just me, thinking about my body. It's like other things that I don't want to see animals suffer like that. And it's not necessary, especially when it's not necessary.
Yeah.
So, it clicked for me right away, and I can notice the benefits from it. And I just noticed how it had an effect on a lot of things that are happening around me.
And did your parents think you were completely insane when you said, or they were up on it? Were they like already like hipper parents? So they were kind of like, oh, let them go? Because my parents are old school Latin. Not that my mom's also, rest in peace, she knew what time it was, but she would be like, okay. But she would be like, all right. Let them be kids, but all right, it's weird.
That's exactly how my mom was too. She was like, okay. And my dad did a lot of the cooking in my house. So he was like, I'll just make it without meat.
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
I mean, he didn't, it was just like, fine. But it was like, but I had an uncle, and it was my mother's brother, and he was already a vegan.
Oh,
like old school vegan. You'd come to the house with his own food. They'd be like, "Oh, we got bacon here," and he's like, "No, I'm good. I'm good."
They pull out a jar, mason jar, with some wild shit in it, right?
I was like, "Yo," I was like, "What are you making over there?" There was just, he was on another level, but that was the first like vegan that I knew of. But people were just like flipping, I didn't know anything about what I was doing when I first started. I go to like Burger King and be like, give me a bun with cheese.
The old school. That's the old Youth of Today hack, the Big Mac with no meat.
Right. And they'd be like, no meat? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, I was like, all right. This is what you want.
Exactly. They're like, I know. It's because, nowadays, look at, I'd be vegan. I eat vegan nowadays. I'm not vegan and vegetarian. Now it's so amazing. It's so easy. Back then, you were eating dirt. That's what I was saying. A guy like your uncle, that's dedication.
Oh yeah.
You back then, look at anybody who eats cleaner, like even me, I cleaned up my diet more.
I definitely had many questions for you.
And I started saying, okay, I get it, man, okay, in your diet, clean up and you start paying more attention. But it's like, it's easier now. There's Gardein, there's fucking everything is, man, you could live very, very good.
Oh yeah.
Back then, you're eating oatmeal, you're eating fucking, I don't know what else. I used to see my friends, growing up in this shit. I've always had vegan and vegetarian friends. And let me tell you, in Madball, people automatically have this thing because, on some tough guy shit that we hate vegans or straight edge. All our friends were vegan and straight edge. It's the hardcore scene. You know what I mean? Like, and it hurt us when back then it was hard for our friends to be able to eat when they couldn't eat. We're Latin dudes. We want to eat together. You know what it is? We're going to try to eat and then, there's nothing to eat. No, I'm cool. I used to feel bad. And I used to be like, that sucks, man. I want my, and you've, get a salad, you try it, and then I'm cool, and it makes a weird situation. I'm like, we're just trying to break bread.
But you're absolutely right about the Latin, vibe of eating together, sharing, like,
yeah.
I mean, especially like in Brazil, I felt that when everyone always offers you their food.
Yes.
Oh, you want some? I'm like,
Yeah.
all the time. Like, oh, you want some of this? Or I was like,
Yeah.
wow, it's really respectful and courteous,
Yeah. Yeah.
And but I mean, I wanted to know, like, what was it in your mind that made you want to change? Was it like one day, or is it something that?
But it started obviously when I've always been a big guy.
Right.
You know what I mean? And obviously, I got heavy as I got older. But when I had my son, I started saying, all right, I got to get my act together. But
so that was always in your head.
Yeah, it was always in my head, but I didn't fully follow up.
Right.
When I don't know if you know, but my wife passed away early.
Yeah, man.
Rest in peace.
Right.
She was like 4 months pregnant, they found out she had a big ass tumor, a really rare case of cancer. Long story short, we're having the baby. That's why my son's my special everything.
Oh, man.
But she's like, nah, I'm having my baby. I don't give a fuck. And I said, but she was the tumor was the size of a grapefruit.
Wow.
In her already. It was just a really rare. And they basically asked us, we got to abort the baby to work on you. And she said, nah, I'm having my baby. So we basically had him as long as we could have him before we got him out so she could get worked on. Long story short, she survived another year and then she passed away. So I came back with my son. So, it was a crazy thing. And I always knew. And, I had my mother was alive, thank God. And then I had, me, this brand new baby and,
yeah.
And then, so I had my mom's, but always in the back of my head, I knew, man, my mom's is going to go one day and what's what. But, I had life, my touring, my records, and I got lost in life.
I see.
Fast forward, right before COVID, my mother's been fighting cancer. She was fighting cancer for a while. It had nothing to do with COVID, but before that, I started seeing escalating. And I already been through it with my wife. So I kind of saw it coming. So I said, yo, it's go time. So I already started, me and her, when she was still alive, we started cutting the milk out. Let's cut out milk. There's too much shit. We're seeing too many connections with dairy. And already my stomach was already, not being able to handle it either. You know what I mean? And I was like, and then we were already like, hey, we got to watch the meat. We know that. All right, meat, especially red meat. We could go into it, but all right, let's start. So baby steps. So we started that and I started working out. But then, as my mom's got sicker and I saw her fading away, for me, shit got really real.
Right.
And then I said, my son, I can't control my mother leaving the planet. That's God's doing.
Absolutely.
But I said, but I got to take control because I'm a control freak. I need to take control of everything that I could control on my own. And I said, yo, my health, I can control this on my own. Nobody got control of that. That's me.
Right.
And I said, now I got to do this for my son. I literally put my son's name on a board and I started hitting the heavy bag. And I started with 5 minutes. I literally cut out, at that time, I cut out all meat. I went vegetarian.
Wow.
I went too hardcore. I cut out coffee. I cut out smoking. Everything in one shot. And I just, because I was bugging out. I was mentally snapping. And I said, my son needs me. And I said, you got to fucking snap the fuck out of it. And I said right away, working the heavy bag, okay, let me make my food. What can I do to eat cleaner? I started, a day turned to a week. I kept grinding and I just kind of stuck to it. Shout out to Adam Blake.
Adam's the best.
I've hit him out through this whole thing with random, I'm not one of these guys that like, follow my journey kind of thing. To me, I did it. My shit was for survival. For my son, I've been lucky that I've met beautiful women in my life. I've been, I never had to depend on abs in my life to get a girl. So it was never for the aesthetics.
Right.
But in which I'm glad that I was never petty in that way. But my health, I said, I want to last. I want my sons to be and their families to bury me. I don't want to leave my fucking baby boy now to bury me. I said, that's not happening. If I could fucking do everything to prevent that. So, I just started, I'm lucky to have friends that are, been in the health game and whatever, and I could pick your brain. And we got Google and YouTube,
right.
All that shit. But this is what I was getting into with you, you being into the health thing, and now you moved to Brazil, especially at a time when I don't even think they knew what a vegan was.
No.
I know Brazil.
Yeah.
And how was it for you, with the diet? Because
question.
I know your diet, and also what you're doing now, it gets connected with food and eating and lifestyle.
Right. And so moving to Brazil, like you said, it's a heavy meat eating country. They're known for the churrascaria, cutting that picanha, cutting that, the cutting of the meat on the spit in front of you, just like slicing through. And puta que pariu.
Oh my God.
It was crazy. I'd never seen anything like that. And I was like, yo, these churrascarias, they have the best salad bars.
Yeah, and they do.
So I didn't mind going to churrasco so much. I was like, I had eaten meat until I was 15. So it didn't really, I was like, I know what it tastes like. It tastes good.
Yeah,
and they're like, but you never had picanha. And I was like,
exactly.
You're right. You're right.
Look, I don't speak on behalf of them. They are right. Listen, Gardein burger is nice, it's cool and all that, but a picanha, oh my God.
They were like pushing it. They're like, yo, and I was like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
But it was rough at first, but at the same time, they have a diversity of food there, and everything is in season all the time. So it's really easy to get like vegetables and the best fruits I've ever had in my life. So I was loving that, putting a lot of things together to create, certain dishes. But then like this, I don't know, like a revolution came about where people started to really get into the whole vegetarian, vegan game. And they started opening up like these buffets where you go and you pay $8, all you can eat vegetarian. And there were people in there that ate meat every day, and they're like, yo, this is a cool change up. Plus it's fresh.
Yeah.
Second, it's super cheap.
Yeah.
And the whole buffet style, where you weigh by kilo or whatever, is like, that was like a big thing there for people who are working. It's fast. You can go back to work quickly.
Yeah.
But
that's dope. No, I was gonna say, I almost think a big part of that was the hardcore people, because Brazil early on had a lot of big straight edge vegetarian or vegan. Like I used to be like, what the fuck you guys eat? But I met a lot of straight edge kids early on there.
Oh yeah.
That were adapting all those.
They were always there, and people started to become more aware of what was happening outside of Brazil as far as, wow, we have a lot of very good agricultural stuff happening here that we can use to our advantage. And people start to really study the art of cooking, of taste. There are so many different flavors that they can create there that they have at their disposal. Why not really go deep with it? And I think that had it, that changed everything up as far as like more places opening, people becoming interested in changing their diet a little bit, having some diversity in it, some type of balance where it's not just fast food, because there were a lot of American companies or companies in general that were coming there that were just bringing shit. And this is another thing that I noticed as well. Like there were all these fast food places, Pizza Hut, Domino's, KFC, no KFC, sorry, Taco Bell. And then a lot of the younger kids started changing. I started noticing like this processed food was killing a lot of the people there, like, and brainwashed. And they were like, oh, this is a status symbol to be a Burger King, or it's a status symbol to be a McDonald's, or to have a Starbucks, in their hand. And it was like, oh, this is cool. And a lot of young kids are buying into that. Subway came there, opened up everywhere. And I was like, why the hell are people eating this crappy food when you have such good natural food here?
Yeah.
And it's cheaper,
Yeah.
And I don't understand that. I was like, this shit's expensive to eat, this fast food stuff. A typical meal would not cost that much in Brazil, rice, beans, they have a little bit of meat. Yeah. And then something else, like that was it. It would be like $1.50.
Yeah, no, for
like
sure.
They were good to go.
Hell yeah, you could eat good cheap. Like, you're supposed to. All of South America, it's supposed to be like that. You're supposed to eat for cheap.
Right.
Right.
And all these fast food places coming in, and the advertising is so strong. It really caught people. I was like, I know what it is. Like I remember in the US, that's how they roll. You know, they get you, and they got America years ago. You know, like you could see that. Oh yeah, you know, like from growing up, the decline of just like the health of everyone in America, just like deteriorating. You know, like slow death.
Very fast. And I'll give you a good example. This is something that's just happened to some of my father. You know, thank God he's still here. But, you know, older guy, Latin guy, you know, the guy didn't know what fucking, you know, these guys eat the wildest shit their whole life. I'm surprised he didn't get fucked up years ago, you know, considering what's happening nowadays. And now, you know, we're going through a situation where, you know, he's having kidney problems. But he's flipping and saying like, oh, no, but it's saying this. I want another opinion. I should be able to get a pill or whatever. I go, right, there's your first problem.
Yeah,
he's already. This is the generation. They think there's a cure and a pill for everything. And I go, no, you know, they giving you that to just maintain you for the next one. And I go, everything doesn't come with you get well, you know, oh, fuck yourself up, take this pill, you're better. I go, it don't work that way. Hate to break it to you. Right. You know what I mean? I go, not once have you told me once, yo, maybe first, let me change what I'm eating first. Let's start with there. The same way with this COVID shit.
But the thing I started to realize also, like going through many, many years, is the education of people not knowing.
They don't know.
It's not taught in school. It's not something that you're hearing all the time. You know, it's a lot of things. It's just people just don't know how to eat properly.
Yeah.
It was never really taught to them.
It's true. And I'll be the first one to know, like, and me, obviously I've picked up things being around it all these years, but I never broke, you know, really got into it till more the later years, obviously, because I started adapting it to my lifestyle. But back then you thought, oh, I'm eating a salad. I'm eating healthy. It's like, no, what about the rest of the shit you just ate all day?
Yes.
You know, because I know that now, because basically what I started doing, even with my whole thing, I started training, but I started watching my calories intakes, because I'm not good with numbers and these fancy diets and whatever.
Right.
It made sense to me. It's like, okay, they say, you know, a man should have, you know, 2,000 calories, 1,800 calories a day. I said, all right. So meaning if you eat less than that, you're going to lose. And if you're working out,
exactly.
Just common sense.
It's math,
All right. So I started saying, all right, I break my meals up into like, okay, you know, a snack is 250 and a meal is 500. Okay, I never go past 1,800 a day. If I do, but I'm usually around there. So I would do that, and then I realized what I was putting in my body all day, and then people think I ate a salad today. And I ate a salad and I skipped lunch. All right, but what did you eat for dinner? Oh, yeah, I ate a burger from a fast food spot. All right, that alone, I'm not even saying that since it's meat, but you're eating a burger that's not even a good quality on top of all the condiments and on top of all this and that and the sodium and all this. And then you're like, when you realize it, then you're like, okay, there's more to this picture than.
Absolutely. And the one thing that's really cool that you were saying is that you're working out.
Yeah.
People that understand it's not only your diet, it's what you're doing. It's a lifestyle thing. It's not about a diet. And I'm so proud of you. You know, seeing that you change your lifestyle, you're like, not drinking, not smoking.
Yeah.
You know, I cut out drinking too. It took me a lot longer to figure it out. You know, like it only had, you know, it's been 1.5 years I haven't drank.
Yeah.
And it's like, why didn't I do that earlier?
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't doing anything for me. It was just getting worse.
It was the right time to do it, you know?
Right.
You know, like I took a break from smoking. I blaze now, but now I brought it back and I'm nice. I don't eat red meat. Same thing now. I'm basically chicken breasts and fish and mainly vegetables. That's where I'm at, and I work out all the time. Some days I go vegetarian. If there's a good vegan meal, I say all the time, if I had Tao living next to me, I'd be vegan.
Right.
You know what I mean? If I could eat dope, you know, I'm the worst cook in the world.
Okay.
It's my power. And this is why I was gonna get into it with you. I know. So you were so obviously you were into, you know, this stuff, this movement kind of early. So you had you had to step your game up. But were you always a good cook, or were you were able to just whip up shit, you know, good enough?
I think, you know, since my brother and sister are so much older than I was, you know, they were like kind of out of the house, and I spent a lot of time alone, and I'd have to make my own meals. My mom was, you know, at work, my father was at work. And so my father was really the cook in our house. He was in the military, he was in the Air Force, and he he was a cook in the military. And so
dope.
he cooked for like massive troops, a lot of people. And when he got out, he became an electrician, but he always cooked the holiday meals, you know, like up in the night. And he was always just so chill. And I always loved his food. And he was very passionate about it, always happy about it, you know, like really. And I saw how much joy it brought to him to make meals for people.
Yeah.
You know, feeding people, you know, and I love that. And I was like, man, I love that. I want to do that too. You know, I was really into it. And I still am into that. You know, I love making meals for people. And during this lockdown, it really stepped up my cooking game because I really had time to try certain recipes and try things out. But I've always loved to explore that. But like you said, now there's so many different options. And each day there's always something that I'm learning that certain things have always been there. It's like kind of like getting back to the basics of things where people really didn't eat that much meat in general. You know, only in the past like 30 or something years, it's this rampage of like people putting, you know, more and more meat, especially in America. And
America,
so
we go too hard. Where I love that about America, but it's also our downfall. We too gung ho with everything.
Oh yeah, I mean it's like crazy, and also meeting people from other countries and seeing how they eat and their culture. And my girl is from Belarus. Here's a good example, you know, and Russians in general. I mean Belarusians, but she's Russian. They eat like consistently, like it's a thing, like always having food out and stuff, but the quality of food, it's not processed food. You know, there's a big difference between like you know, when people are always talking about, but my grandma ate like this, but it's like, but the food wasn't processed.
Exactly.
You know, it was like really food.
Real
you know,
food.
It went from either the ground or wherever, you know, straight to your plate. You know, and so, and also the portions of meat, like my fiance, she's like, like in Brazil, she's like, this is way too much. Like, you know, I'm going to get sick.
It's portion control.
And so, you know, a lot of those things rang true to me. I was like, damn, I see, you know, this is really something I can change. And also the fact that, you know, it really has an effect on the planet, you know, like, and we're all seeing the ramifications, you know, that are happening because of that. But it's, you know, there's so many more options out there. I really enjoy like just basic things and just learning how to season, how to create certain sauces and things like that. And I always commend people who are like balancing their diets. You know, I've never been that vegan that's attacking people for eating meat. I think that's stepping backwards. I think when people cut out, like I have one day a week where we do no meat, and I'm like, yo, that's dope.
Exactly.
You know, that never happened before. Never. Were thinking
why would you try to scare away somebody you're trying to put on?
Right.
You know, you gotta, you know, you start in levels, and that's why, if anything, that's what you do. You welcome people trying. That's what I was saying. Like,
absolutely, man.
I never people. I always used to laugh. You know, like me and Toby. Toby's the one who would always get me we would go to Atlas and get these peanut butter bomb things. They're from Vegan Treats, the one vegan spot he would always bring me to. But we addicted to these things, right? And I would always eat them. But then, you know, I'd meet some other people that would see me eating them, and they're like, whoa, you like a vegan treat? And I'm like, motherfucker, I like anything that's good. I don't give a fuck. You think I know what the ingredients in the fucking whatever thing I just ate? I'll go, if it's good, it's good. And all right, it's vegan. All right, dope. And if it's saving another, even better.
Right.
And then I was like,
if it's good, it's good.
Yeah, to me, it was never a thing, you know. And I was always like, and then obviously the older I got, we have what you call it, knowledge is accessible to us now, like looking up, you know, the stuff meat's doing, and that's why, you know, we were talking about the old ladies. This is one of the things that I had to look at. I said, you know, to this day I do that. I do days where I go vegan. You know, I do a vegan day, a vegetarian day.
Right.
And if I, you know, and I sat there and I go, that same concept. I go, right now that I go, man, I grew up knowing old my mom's was from Nicaragua, but old Nicaraguan ladies, and Cuban ladies, they live to 100. They smoke cigars. They eat pork. But I was like, and they live to 100. I go, but what's the difference? I go, okay, one, exactly. the food that they raise their animals. There's nothing processed, and they live an active lifestyle where they're exercise, walking.
Yes, active.
It's not like you said. It's everything working hand in hand. It's not just one thing. It's not just. It's your diet, your lifestyle, your resting. You know, your exercise, and then you realize it's like, okay, now let's refine that. Okay, now if you are going to consume meat, if you decide to, okay, which ones you stay away, which ones are easier on the body. That's the way I started my thing. I started thinking, okay, protein. I broke it down to chicken breast. I eat a little chicken breast, a little fish, and a lot of vegetables. And I started seeing that I still felt good. Yeah. My body was doing what it was supposed to be doing. And then I started feeling like also, with more vegetables, ailments getting better. Like if I have inflammation on knees and little joint. Listen, I'll tell you this, this is the craziest part. I used to power lift and do all this stuff, but in this year, I trained so much, heavy bag with some weights and doing whatever it is. Since I changed my diet, I've been sore maybe 5 days in the last year. Maybe 5 days from working out. Maybe. I believe it. Because I get good workouts, but I recoup better because I'm eating better. And I noticed that for a fact.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. I mean, when training, I did sports my whole life. And like I said, I started at 15, so I was still wrestling. I wrestled in high school. I played, I did track and field.
Crazy.
And I felt fantastic, even at that age, cutting it out and still being able to do everything that everybody else was doing.
Yeah.
But I really noticed when I went to a class reunion and I was just like, yo,
everybody like a piece of shit.
Wow. It was like really shocking at times.
Yeah.
And I also realized not only physical, but it's like the strongest thing. I think that whole change is mental.
Yeah.
You have to make that change, like, first in your mind.
Yeah.
Like I had to get my mind around the whole concept of like when I stopped eating dairy and cutting out, that was hard. I was like, yo,
very hard.
Cheese. I was like, wow, but I just set in my mind, I was like, okay, now I'm ready mentally. I wasn't going to force myself. It just slowly tapered that off. And then I was like, you know what? I don't really need any products that have animals, like leather or anything. And I was like, it's like, there's so many other materials and things that are out there now that it's like, and I live in a big city. It's just pointless. It doesn't make any sense. But another thing that you said is really important is the knowledge is out there. Like you can do the research yourself. You can see, what companies are transparent about what their product is. And when there's companies that aren't transparent, I'm not going to put my money there. It's like, what are you hiding? Like there's enough amazing companies out there that actually care about their product and what they're giving to you.
Yeah.
There's a lot more than ever now. And you can find a lot of those online easier than ever, And so I'm really happy about seeing more companies like plant-based companies or companies that are ethical, transparent.
Yeah.
You can see where you're like, it's coming from here to you. And we're not afraid to tell you.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's great. Like I said, that the way things are presented now, from the packaging to the taste. Now I do it to my kids. Yo, let's try this new veggie burger out. Look at this. Try it. Okay. I make it a taste test thing. Let's compare it to the burger there. And I try to bring it in there. And then, my sons know they're also getting brought up. I don't tell nobody what to do, but I say, we should watch what we eat. Just look, I go, we got to fight it now. I go, you hate the doctor like I hate the doctor. I go, why you think I'm doing this shit now? I go, you know why I skip my dessert sometimes now? Because I don't want to I want to skip those doctor meetings later.
That's great, man. That's great. And so how do they feel about your dramatic change?
They did it with me. They're proud of me and they love it. And they were just like, now they're like, but now they say, yo, you right now they go, Pop, now you don't eat good. Now that since you got skinnier, we don't eat enough. Like they think because they don't like because I take out a lot of they don't get no as dirty as before. But they're psyched. They're psyched for me and shit. But what I was gonna ask
that's inspirational, man.
Yeah, no, I thank my sons. I thank my sons. I thank my mother. And I
Right.
and I also, and I'm grateful of having the people, of coming from where I come from, to have the people around me to I already had a couple of some knowledge from my people around me how to get started. And then I
No
already
doubt.
had people like Adam. And if I
Yeah.
got the world of yogis and vegetarians and Krishnas. If I want a Satan worship, I could get a spell right now on you. You know what I mean? If I could get a spell, a chicken head cut off. I could get a Wiccan thing, everything. That's the beauty of, our worlds and being and all that. But what I wanted to know was about what's the deal with that? You were working on the show, right? For the cooking thing. That's what I wanted to know about while I was getting into the food.
So this is pretty cool, man. And I would love to have you on the show, man. You're a perfect example, inspirational, I think, for a lot of people. You would be perfect.
Oh, anytime, you know that.
Yeah, man. So once we start filming again, we'll get rolling. But the show is called Highway to Health. And
dope name. When I heard the name, I was like, man, he got a good one.
I love
the name. Great
name.
And
so the co-host, her name is Tanya O'Callaghan. She's from Ireland. And she's a musician. She's played with like so many different musicians. There's Steven Adler, the drummer from Guns N' Roses. What's his name? Dee Schneider. She played with him. She's traveled the world, and she's incredible. And she's an activist, and she's a vegan as well. And so we had the same idea as far as, we travel all over the world, all these caterings, and we've noticed how it's changed. Like the world of plant-based world is changing. And let's do a program where we interview people of places that we've gone to, talk about the change, and interview people that aren't necessarily vegans or plant-based, but just to know that there's people that are, have that balance. Like we're trying to appeal to people who aren't vegan. We're not trying to preach to the choir. We're trying to show people like, these are some options out here. It's something to think about.
Options.
Options.
It's all about options, everybody.
Yes.
Facts.
So there are a lot of questions that we get all the time. Like, how could you be so big and be a vegan?
Yeah.
How does shopping? It's expensive. Where do you get your protein? Blah, blah, blah. So we want to answer a lot of these questions on the show, show people in their active lives and our lives as well, show us on shows, behind the stage, restaurants of friends, people who have gone through transformations, people who have kids who are plant-based, doctors, farmers, really interview a wide variety of people all over the world. And so we were able to film our first season, which is done right before COVID came into play.
Yep.
So we're able to edit everything. And now we're in the process of selling the show. And it was incredible. We went to Brazil. We went to Ireland. We went to our hometowns to show where we came from, because I was like, it's important that people know our background.
Yes.
Like how did these two crazy
exactly.
people...
Paint the story. Yeah,
right.
Let them know the story.
Absolutely. So we went to Cleveland. I hadn't lived there in years, but we went and I talked to people from restaurants that influenced me and the whole vegan or vegetarian game. We went to Ireland, where Tanya's from, Mullingar, a small village. Talked to her parents, her grandmother, people that she grew up with. It was dope. And we also recorded a Kiss cruise Tanya was playing on, because we're showing the behind the scenes of our life, and that went to the Caribbean, that was like, it was insane.
That's a great angle. It's great. And it's also, it's the best time more now than ever. And I almost think in a way, for what you're doing, this COVID shit might be a blessing, because
it was in a way.
It also turned a lot of people let this shit get the best of them, but a lot of people also turned their life around and started making those changes and had all the time to do the research.
I did
a lot of downtime.
Absolutely, man. I mean, one of those changes, I lost like 25 pounds. I went hard. After doing the show, I was like, damn. I was eating a lot, people don't think that you can get big from, like, oh, it's vegan, it's vegetarian.
Yeah.
No,
vegan doesn't always mean healthy.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So it was like a learning process, like, damn. And I really want to talk about that in the second season, because you're going to see a radical change. Like, I was like, bigger and I really want to show a natural, like, this is what I did naturally, and I want to prove, show that, like, hey, it doesn't always mean healthy being vegan. You know, you
Yeah.
really have to watch what you're eating.
Yes.
And now, you know, like a lot of those fake meats and stuff like that, I eat a lot less of those.
Yeah.
You know, I was so hyped on it when they came out. And I was like, this is amazing.
And then
but now, right. But now I'm like,
info on it. Yeah, you get the info on it. And, you know, like anything amazing.
Right.
Too much of it is no good.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. Like too much of it it's not going to be good for you. Yeah, so it's like I kind of treat myself with it every now and then. It's like, okay, I'll have that.
Exactly. You know, that's what I do with that, because I was going nuts with it first. Like, no, this is the best. And then you're like, you know how much this and that and this and that. And I'm like, oh man, you guys take the fun out of everything. I was like, basically, if it tastes like shit, you could eat it all day. Everybody. You know, and
but there are things that I've always liked, and I'm like, why don't I just make amazing like rice and beans, guacamole? You know, like those are like natural, incredible things. You know, rice and beans is a super protein complex.
Yeah.
You know, you get a lot of protein from that, and you have like delicious vegetables and things if you just know how to prepare it. And I just started to teach myself how to, you know, create those natural things from like mushrooms and casseroles and things like that, you know.
That's what I loved about Tao, because I would talk to Tao and I would pick his brain about shit too. And what I loved about Tao, that same mentality, he's like, yeah, you know, yeah, it's dope when vegans like your food. Dope. He goes, I want to show that my food, that meat eaters could love this stuff. So he loved when meat eaters loved this food, enjoy. Like, I want to know, and he would tell you, really, what do you think? And I love that because, and also Tao has experience with French cuisine and just cooking. So he knew flavor profiles. Exactly. That's why his food tastes so good. He knew how to work the proper training, learn, okay, I'm not going to use butter, but I know what butter does. Where can I get these rich flavors to you know, place? And, you know,
and this is what I tell a lot of people who also eat, you know, just like, you know, meat is just, you know, it's incredible. It's like, what makes meat incredible is the seasoning that goes with it. You know, just eating meat like on the grill, like raw or whatever. It's not gonna be that good.
It's a seasoning and a texture. It's two things. Yeah, the texture, like anything, a texture and the seasoning. Absolutely. I've eaten hamburgers when the burger's out and it still tastes good because you got the sauce, the bread, the pickles, even that tastes all right. You know what I mean? You pull the meat out, it's still all right.
Right. You know, it's like if you can make incredible sauces and things like that, you know, it's a game changer. And I think a lot in that plant-based world, they started to really explore the possibilities of creating tasty, you know, dishes that, you know, comfort you know, give you that, create that natural comfort, you know, that exists.
Now, what would be what's some of your European truck stop hacks?
Oh man, I mean, I was always looking for like those falafel places, or they have like shawarma. I was like, they got shawarma, they got falafel. You know, it's like my go-to.
What about at a truck stop? All right, now you pull out a truck. I know it's like that's
rough.
A bottle of water. If you want to eat an apple, okay, GMO, but all right, an apple.
Yeah, I mean I ended up just taking stuff from catering on the road. You know, like and I would just like have like plan B always ready to go. Like, yep, I got that baguette from yesterday. I got that spread. They had that mushroom spread. It's in their fridge. I got this, and I'll put it together until we get to the real deal, you know, and just kind of go with that. But it's difficult in Europe, I got to say.
Yeah, and definitely the way you do it is why I ask is because my drummer, Mikey, you know, he's vegetarian, been forever. And that's basically how he does it. And I'm asking these questions because I'm preparing myself. I'm like, you know, it's easier to be disciplined at home when you know, I've been eating the same breakfast for a year. Okay, now I'm going to go on the road. It's going to be different. So I'm trying to look at.
There's certain things that I like to bring on the road that I know I can eat and that will last a long time in the refrigerator. And then there's certain, I mean, now that they have it on the writer, you know, I'm the only one that's vegetarian in my band and crew. So a lot of times, you know, they make these meals and people end up, you know, everybody who eats meat ends up eating them.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's just like, oh, I feel better on stage. It's lighter, you know, and they're like, yo, this is good. And they're really banging it out. And I have to say it's gotten much better And a lot of that I leave for after show, or I just pack it up in a package. I just have Tupperware stuff. I'm like, yo, this is coming with me.
That's gonna be the way it's doing it. It seems like the way to do it. Like,
and it's always like fruit and stuff on the menu. So I'm like, yo, if it's gonna be late, which it usually is, I'm gonna eat like this fruit or whatever and stuff that's snack until I can eat a big breakfast in the morning when we arrive somewhere else. And I'm like, okay, where's the oatmeal at? Where's this at?
Okay. So real quick, or you wake up on a regular day on the road. What's your breakfast?
Usually like some type of an oatmeal, because I asked for that like on the rider, and I usually, if they don't, then we have it on the bus somewhere. I can bring in, like, you got hot water, because it's like a minute to cook.
Listen, I used to diss everybody who for breakfast would just say, I eat oatmeal. I used to be like, what are you, fucking 90 years old? Well, guess what? I just been eating for the last year every morning.
And overnight oats. I've
been eating oatmeal, a teaspoon of almond butter, and blueberries. That's been my breakfast for the last year. Literally.
Man. I believe it. But I like, I love bread. I'm sorry, man. I can't
listen. I do too, but to try to get banana hammock weather ready, I gotta, bread and rice. You know how I miss rice? Oh my, I'm Spanish, and like, it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah. Then I like you said, that balance of like, I go harder in the gym, but on the road, I'm burning a lot. On stage, it's more than any gym or any workout. Sure. And that's something I noticed, like when I am eating well on tour and getting enough sleep.
Rest is important. Yes.
The most important.
Yes.
Since we got a lot of older dudes on our bus, it's like party buses are done. After the show, it's like, yo, I'm having a tea. Andres has his tea.
And they become tombs. They're like tombs, like close.
Oh yeah, like it's it's a wrap. You get that good night's sleep, which is essential to being healthy. Mentally, physically. And in the morning, it's just like, they usually have an oat or soy milk, and like you said,
an oat or soy, and then for a lunches, what's a kind of a lunches? Basic.
Well, they usually have something catered, so they're usually making something like that's outrageously good.
Yeah, I know, man. I would be like, I don't know what I would be like. I would be like Butterbean if I was on tour with Sepultura. I'd be eating fucking picanha every day.
But I mean, those guys eat really well though on the road. They're not eating as much meat as they used to. As we get older, any doctor will tell you, like, more vegetables.
Yeah, exactly.
They've always been saying that though.
Yeah, exactly. And people forget also in Brazil, they eat a lot of meat, but these motherfuckers are surfing, swimming, biking. They're outdoor people. They're outdoor all the time.
But they have a crazy balance. Like I said, they have like a massive salad bar along with that picanha.
Yeah. And they got super fruits and super vegetables also.
Fruits, man. I mean, they kill it. It's like incredible food. But on the road, it's still, like a learning process. But we're going to show, especially on the show, that it's changing. A lot of the venues, they cook a lot of their meals at the venue, like those hardcore spots, and I love it. And they're getting better and better. Even the desserts they have, they're
amazing.
Amazing. And now when we're touring with other bands, there are also vegans in that band. So there's a lot of vegan food on the road now.
No, for sure. If you're going to be a vegan, now's the time. Like now, exactly. Now it's just the variety. They stepped it up with taste, even with the pastries. Back then, it just used to be sugar, mad sugary. And it was like, you're just covering up taste. Now make it taste good. Like, not disguise it. It got to taste good.
It's got to taste good. I mean, there's stuff that's sitting in the refrigerator that our crew will start eating. And I'm like, that's vegan. They're like, oh, shit.
They throw it out. Get it out of here.
Like, I didn't know. Like, so now a lot of times I don't tell people. Like, I'll bring something on, they'll just start eating it.
For sure.
And then it's just like, just
I picked up a lot also from Toby, because when we were on tour with Hazen Street, he'd always go to Whole Foods and buy those, these little, like, those snacks, these little, like, brownie with raisin or date things. And I'd eat them. I'd be like, it tastes like chocolate. And I'm like, this is healthy. Okay, let me get 30 of them. You know what I mean? Like, it says 50% less fat. That means I can eat twice as many. Shout out to Royce. My boy used to say that. You know what that means, right? You got less fat, you can eat twice as many.
Yep, I used to go by that as well. I was like,
but no, the show is a great idea, and so you're doing this now. Is the plan? You're going to work on the second season, and then you're shopping it, and that's
right, like we're
next
shopping
move.
the first season, and a lot of networks are looking for content because they couldn't film during the pandemic.
They want ready-made. They want
Yeah,
a grip of shit. So
right. I mean, the thing how we put it together was that we when we were starting the idea going around, like people like it's a dope idea, but they couldn't really visualize it. It's like they're not from our world. They don't understand like what it is to be on the road or traveling the world. They're like, it's something insane to them. So we were like, you know what? We should just do it ourselves, get the money, fund everything ourselves, and just have it ready for them. Like, this is it. You don't have to put any money into it. You don't have to, it's done already. And that's helped tremendously. Like people like, now I get it, like, oh, I see, that's cool, and so we're working on ideas for the second season. And hopefully, once things start rolling again, then we'll start shooting it.
Yeah, no, it's a great idea. And even I'm showing the different, an Irish girl, you're in the band.
Yeah.
That type of band. You got to show off the grip. Look at this it doesn't matter where you come from or whatever.
Exactly.
This is a lifestyle thing that people anybody could incorporate. You know what I mean? Like
that was the importance of going to Ireland, going to Cleveland. I mean, our next episode was supposed to go to New York, but then the whole pandemic, like, let's shoot some more. But it's important to show that diversity, and especially with the friends. Like I met the CEO of Ford Motors South America.
Wow.
And he's on it. He's like, yo, I'll be on it. And I was like, that's dope. We had Kat Von D, we had Moby, we had Kevin Smith, the director who almost died. Yeah. And he also talked about like, I wanted to make a change in my lifestyle because I wanted to be with my family. I wanted to spend more time with my daughter. It wasn't fair, and just, the diversity is what I really love about doing your own show. You can have, people that, other people wouldn't imagine that you'd be friends with them, but there's a lot in common, that more so than, so it's really great that we have that ability to meet so many different people and they trust us, to show, not like put them down or anything like that, but we want to bring, boost what they're doing. We had like my friend who's an MMA fighter in Brazil, and he's not a vegan. We're like, yo, would you ever be vegan? He's like, probably not. But but I wanted people to understand that this dude is very disciplined. He talks about a lot of healthy things, and it was something that wasn't completely not impossible. But he talked about vegans that he trains with.
Yeah.
And that's, I wanted, people to see like, yeah, we're open. There's a lot of change. It's just, everybody making their own choices,
Yeah. No, it's I think it's the perfect time. It's a great idea. And I think it's great that, a guy, especially from the underground, because it paints the perfect picture. People always think that, we're just savages.
Yeah.
Which we are. But, like I like sophisticated savages, I
like that.
Savages that are in tune with what's going on.
Absolutely. And I think we always have been.
Yeah.
All those songs that we've been writing and talking about, all those social issues that's still going on now. Yeah. We were all about that when we were teenagers.
And we're still doing it.
Right.
We're doing the podcast, we're doing the show and doing this. Right. That's why it's important. And I'm glad people are doing it. And I'm glad that this brought these platforms back, a 2.0 for everybody. Cause
absolutely,
people need to see it. That's what helped me get over my hump too. Seeing, man, other people go through this.
Okay. Right.
I'm not in this alone. You think it's, how it is when you fall in a hole, you think this is just me. Nobody understands. And you see somebody else, you're like, oh, it ain't just me. And it ain't just a regular guy. It's this famous dude who I thought had the life.
Right.
And he's going through it. And then you see like, okay, this is happening to everybody. Okay. We're human. Okay. It's not just me. I'm not, and then, the platforms are working, even though we do it for fun. If we could, like with the band, we love music, but if it could help you, it's a double plus. Why wouldn't you want that? You know what I mean?
No doubt, man. Absolutely, man.
But I'm glad what's up with Sepultura before we get out of here? What's the deal?
All right.
Or what's it looking like? What's what with everything?
All right. So those guys are in Brazil. It's really bad there with COVID. It's a little bit behind what we're, facing right now.
Yeah.
But now they have a vaccine and they're rolling it out, each month. They have a age group that it goes to, starting from older to younger. So hopefully things will be getting better. But we plan on doing a live stream sometime, hopefully in the summer. And we haven't done one during this whole lockdown, but we have a tour set up for November, December in Europe, and we're hoping that goes through, Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that would be with Sacred Reich and Crowbar. And I love
Kirk.
Yeah, man. I love all those guys, and it would be a lot of fun. And we plan our tour for the US for 2022, which is cool. But, we're excited to go out and play again, man. It's been a long time, and I miss those guys, and I miss being on stage, and it's just, I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm really looking forward to it, but I'm definitely have been positive this entire time, thinking that, okay, maybe we needed to have a pause, everywhere, because now I want to come out of this strong, like energized. And I felt that it's giving me that time to get re-energized, mentally, physically, in every way. So
no, for sure. And I'm I've been seeing you working on the show. I've been seeing you pop up with Toby. That's like the odd couple. I love it. When you're out there, I was like, it's like, it's like Game of Death. Right, but Will Chamberlain, right, and Bruce Lee, and Bruce Lee, except it's more like Will Chamberlain and Moby. Oh, right, but but anyway, shout out my favorite.
Love you, Toby.
You know that, Toby. I love, again. The other day I did a live with Toby, and it's one of the most. I would always skip over a live because I'm like, all right, just whatever, people pushing their thing. But I had so much fun talking with him, and it was like
he's the best.
The energy, we just talking shit, seeing them. I just think of us hanging out on the corner, and and I guess it's just one of those things. Mad people hit me up and was like, "It's the best thing I've seen all day," and I'm like, "Why?" It was dope because I felt good about it. I'm like, it felt like just I got to hang out with my boy. It felt like it's just something mad innocent again, and we fucking did it on Instagram Live, bullshit, but it was like
so dope, man.
But
I mean, we're both like we're both so proud of you, man. Like we really were just talk about you and how inspirational you are really to us. We're like, wow. You see, Hoya, like we're just so happy for you, man. And
thank you, man. And I know we talked a couple of times along the way, and you guys be hanging out. So I'm always touching base, keeping tabs. I'm definitely glad I was able to get you on here.
Man, thank you for having me.
No, you know what's up. One love to everybody. I hope we could see you somewhere. And mad love to your family. Tell all the fellas back in Brazil. Picanha for me. But
all right, man.
One love. Good luck with the show. Everybody
you,
get at you and let me know whenever you need anything. We out here. You know what's up.
All right, amigo.
One love, Derrick. We out.
One love, bro.
Peace.
Peace.